Hey everybody, it's Friday again. Yay. My name is still Kevin. As far as I know, I'm still CEO, holding down the job title, doing what I can, of CoinMetro, and this is our weekly AMA. If you guys have never been to a weekly AMA before, you ask a question, ask me anything, I guess, and I'll answer it. I'm at the desk again this week and a bit late. Both of those are very bullish, by the way, very bullish. Too busy to get here on time and too late to actually get in the studio. Bullish, absolutely bullish. No other real way to describe it. XCM to the moon. Hey, Deep Philippe, nice to see you. Jens, hey. Yes, but maybe. How long you lived in Estonia and do you speak Estonian? No, I don't. I speak Estonian. Last question first. I've been here since January 28th of 2018. So almost 4 years, which is kind of embarrassing because I wish I did speak the language. I know a little bit more than I did when I arrived. When I say a little bit, I would stress little and bit. I would like to learn the language, but just from a kind of, looking at it from a business angle, there's only probably 2 million people in the world that speak it, maybe slightly more than that, or how many expats there are from Estonia living elsewhere. But let's say there's even 3 million people that speak it. That's a small village in China. So, there's not much of a reason for me to speak it. Most people do speak English here, and those that don't, I don't generally need to have a chat with. So, yeah, though culturally speaking, I would love to be able to learn the new language. It's the reason why I learned Spanish when I lived in Mexico. I did try to learn Russian for a bit, but I downloaded an app, paid for it like a grown-up, took my credit card out, smacked the numbers into the app, paid for it, paid for the whole year, and then didn't take one fucking lesson. So, yeah, but I think one day I might actually get there. Once XCM is 100 euros and I don't have to worry about trying to get it there, maybe I'll have some time to actually learn Russian. Good to see you as well, Alexander. Yes, we have the Epic non-studio setup. Very bullish. Yeah, you see? Philippe knows what's up. Very bullish. High liquid newt. Liquid newt. That's probably some derogatory thing in some other language, and like half our viewership just left. I don't know. Did the investors join the XCM book and are started buying? Good question. Looks to me like some of them have. So I would say yes to that, probably. In fact, I haven't been able to communicate with some of them because they mostly use Discord, and I had to change phones. I got one of these bad boys now. You guys seen this one? It's got the nice fold line in the phone. I used to love flip phones back in the day. I figured, why not? It's kind of heavy, but it fits into a pocket better. I don't know if that's a good reason to spend a bunch of money on a device, but I needed a new one anyway because battery life was dying on the other one. So yes, I haven't been able to communicate with them because I changed phones, and the only place I was able to access Discord was my old phone, and now I can't get into it on the new phone. So amazing. Happy Friday to you too. What nationality are you? So I'm a bit of a mutt, technically speaking. I am, here we go, ready? Italian, German, Czechoslovakian, which no longer even exists, and American Indian. And by passport, I am Mexican. So yeah, you have all that to deal with. I don't know the percentages per se, but I probably could figure it out in my head. I think it's at almost 25% across the board, to be honest, because lineage from all my grandparents is pretty normalized, meaning my dad's mother was Sicilian. My dad's father was born, raised, and his entire family came from the Czechoslovakia, which was Czechoslovakia back in the day. And my mother's side, her mother was her lineage is almost 100% German. There might be something else, fluttered around in there. I don't know. But it's almost 100% German. And then her father was literally an American Indian. I don't know. I don't remember the name of the tribe. I'm not one of those people that will go take a DNA test to figure out where they're from because I just don't care. I don't know what that makes me, but I just don't care. I don't really care who came before me. What I care about is how I leave this place when I go away, for everybody else that comes after me. But, who came before me, I don't not something that really interests me. It doesn't keep me up at night, that's for sure. Hey, Kev. Hey, MVB. How are you? Nice to see you here. Very generic question, but why not for once? Any big announcements today? Yeah, it's pretty generic. Big announcement. So I think you guys are probably waiting on a staking adjustment announcement, and it's coming. I had planned to put that in action this week, and then this week happened. So haven't been able to do it. I have mulled over the numbers. I'm pretty close to finding something that I think works. I would say before the end of the month, my goal is to get that over the fence. I will be traveling next week. Well, I'll be traveling this weekend, and I'll be in Mexico next week, trying to get our office pushed forward, and some other logistical things and admin things that need to happen. But I still will be working on a different time zone, though. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get most of that stuff done next week, and this way we can actually make an announcement about that, maybe even on next week's TG. I was going to say TGIF, except that's internal, and you guys are AMA. It's pretty much the same thing, though. I kind of said the same thing. I just don't talk for an hour on our TGIF because people like to go home on Fridays at some point. So no big announcement today. What I can say is that lots of stuff is happening. So we are kind of in this space right now where we're finally, I would say, finally getting traction in many ways. I see lots of good things happening in many different places. We also have, different struggles that we haven't seen before, but we're well suited, I think, for most of those struggles because we've gone through so much nonsense in the past, that collectively the team has learned how to deal with a lot of these things. And even the newcomers have now figured out the best way to get around, nuisances and problems and things that arise. So I see lots of good. There's progress in every way. I've been on calls with a new advertising agency. I've been on calls internally with our fantastic UI UX. I was going to say team, but dude, I guess. Have been on calls with product. Have been on calls with. I think been on calls with just about every department except for maybe support this week. I think everybody else, I think I definitely talked to or had calls related to those departments. And we do have a lot of things going on. So yeah, that big announcement that you're probably referring to, I hope will happen next week. It will happen. It is something that's kind of sitting mostly on my desk right now. I got the numbers pulled for me. That happened. Numbers came to my desk. I haven't had enough time to look at them, digest them, and come back with a plan. I hope to do that next week. My plan is, again, before the end of the month. Halloween gift, I guess. What part of CM are you most excited about for 2022? What has been keeping you up at night lately? Well, nothing really keeps me up at night anymore, to be honest. 10 years ago, everything kept me up at night. So, I've been involved in startups, I guess, since I was 12, to be honest. We didn't call them startups back then. They were just called a business and a small one, or non-existent business. I don't think that was a term either. Imagine saying, what kind of business do you run? You're like, a non-existent one. That would be ridiculous. Point is that startup is a relatively new thing. Now there's actually different terminology. They scale up. I think we're now a scale up officially, according to Silicon Valley, but who cares what Silicon Valley says? So, from a startup perspective, there's always, 10, 15 years ago, if one thing was out of place, I couldn't sleep. I would be up till 6 a.m. trying to figure out if the letter T should be a double spaced or single spaced, or whatever in the word the on the first page of the website. I've realized over the years that spending 22 hours a day thinking you're working to get to a goal actually doesn't get you any faster to the goal. It may get you faster to what you think is solving of a problem, but all you do is create multiple other problems that eventually you're going to have to solve. So it's been difficult for me to be able to calm myself over the years and figure out how best I can apply myself to my craft, my business, personal life as well, to be honest. So nothing really keeps me up at night. I have a myriad of things, though, that keep me occupied during my waking hours. And I still do end up staying up usually most nights till about 2, just because I have kind of a, restless mind, or I'm a bit of I guess a scatterbrain. So my brain is in 50 things at once. No matter how much I've tried to train it not to do that, I can't. So, at this age, with this much hair left, I just figure I might as well just continue on. Because so far, I guess it's been working. Maybe something else would have worked better, but, this has worked. So what am I most excited about for 2022? I think in general, growth is probably one of the biggest things I'm excited about. I'm excited to see what CoinMetro in December of 2022 looks like in comparison to what CoinMetro of December 2021 is going to look like. I think CoinMetro of 2021, December 2021, the next 2 months, is going to be such a vastly different company from what it was December 2020. But I think December 2022 is going to be just day and night, honestly. I think from many aspects, and that's going to come from just internal dynamics, culture. I hope culture is a hard thing to harvest, a hard thing to maintain, but I think we're going to do it. I also think that outside, so the outside perspective of CoinMetro, of those of you who have been with us since the beginning, is going to be vastly different. But also the amount of people that realize what CoinMetro is, what we've been doing, and why they should be a part of this movement that we're trying to create, I think is also something that's going to happen in 2022. So I'm most excited just to see it's, CoinMetro's like, every business is like a child, right? You create a business, it's like a newborn. They're a pain in the ass. They keep you up at night. You can't focus on anything else. You lose sleep. You wonder why you did this in the first place. And then eventually those newborns become toddlers. And then every day is amazing because it's all new. Everything you do is new. There's no real mistakes to be made because you have no baseline to figure out what a mistake is. Everything's just awesome and good and new, and there's progress. And then, from toddler to they become 2 and 3, and you get the terrible 2s, and you go through all these growing pains and problems, and you're like, fuck, again, you're thinking, should I continue? Should I just give this baby to my, mother-in-law and let her have at it? What am I doing? And then eventually, you go through these amazing steps. And I think right now, CoinMetro is kind of an adolescent. We have these growing pains where we're trying to move too fast. We're tripping over ourselves, et cetera. But at the same time, we're starting to have a realization of what we need to do to get to that next level. And I think 2022 is going to be kind of our mid-20s, early 30s, where we're still not exactly sure why the fuck we're on the planet, but we absolutely know are getting to understand what we're good at and how to strive at what we're good at. And those years are usually where you might not build wealth when you're between 25 and mid-30s, some do, but you build the foundation for what will eventually become your success. And I think that's 22 for us, and I think it's going to be amazing. That was a long answer. It was also like thought-provoking. I thought it was pretty good. We should record that one and put it somewhere. CoinMetro is mooning. Yeah, it's true. We're mooning. Did anybody, have you guys seen the CoinMetro Moon, by the way? Hold on. This is going to be hard to see with this light. Anyway, there's actually a CoinMetro logo on here. You can kind of see it now. See? It actually lights up, but you have to charge it. And I'm trying to save on electricity because we're a startup. No, I just can't find the cable, to be honest. Is there any market maker bot CoinMetro suggests for users? Hey, Bill, I don't have one. You might want to ask in our Telegram group. There's probably people in there that could suggest something. I can't, unfortunately. Don't know. Cell frame potential. Wow. I don't know what that question is, to be honest. So Madhan Kumar. Okay, you're gonna have to ask that again. Cell frame potential. Is cell frame like an asset that you want us to list, and then we're asking for the potential for us to list it? I'm lost on that one. You're gonna have to come back to me on that one. Hey, Brenton. Hey, Kevin. Do you think you'll get integration with 3 commas or something else for automation? We will. I actually have a sticky note here somewhere. I don't know where it is. I have a sticky note. That's bad when you have a sticky note, but you don't know where it is. That's like the whole purpose for a sticky note, is to remind you of something. And if you can't find the sticky note, what are you doing? Anyway, I do have a sticky note somewhere, and it's 3 commas and stacked is on that sticky note. We have about 857,637 things. 38 things, sorry, that we actually want to do and will do at some point. And then we have capacity for, 1% of that in the short term. And we're building out this team, which we now have, more back-end people than we ever did, but we're still onboarding them. We're finally starting to see output. I saw something in Slack the other day that we actually had output from the team. That's amazing. Love to see it. Front-end team is also going to get built out, et cetera, et cetera. So, these things cause us to move slower rather than faster initially. And then eventually we really start to move on the development front. This is something we absolutely want to do, and we will do. I can't give you a timeline right now. Into the end of 2021 and then 2022, a lot of it is about automation. automation to make sure that our onboarding process and our ongoing transaction approval, denial, and monitoring process is almost entirely automated, or as much as it can be. And there's obviously lots of products and lots of movement elsewhere, et cetera, but that's a very core KPI for the company. These things, 3Com is definitely an integration I want to pursue. I think it's potential it could happen in 22. I think there's potential it might not happen until 23. It really depends on how fast we can build those teams, how fast we can segment those teams, how fast we can build additional product teams. You know, we now are looking to bring in additional people into product, which is going to help us segment different pieces. So internal product, external product, crypto versus fiat, et cetera, and start to build out those product teams, which is going to help us move much faster. So 22, we're probably underestimating our capabilities in 22, but I'd rather, you know, in the past, what we've done is, I hate to say overpromise, because you don't know you overpromised until, well, you can't deliver. But I don't want to promise and not deliver. I'd rather underpromise and smash it. And I think 2022, our roadmap is a bit underwhelming from a high level. When you really realize what these things are going to do for the company at large, it's massive. And I do think we might be able to outperform ourselves. When can we stake on KDA? Hey, Orbo, so that's a KDA question. That's a KDA question. They have to get one of their bridges live for that to happen. They're supposed to get those bridges live, as far as I can remember, from our AMA by the end of the year. So hopefully in the next 2-3 months, you'll be able to stake on CoinMetro, just like bonding will open up to a larger audience as well, direct on Cadena's protocol. How will CM improve liquidity per Q4 roadmap? Hey, how am code? Yeah, how am code? Yeah. Good question. So high level, liquidity in crypto sucks. Now, you may not realize that because you may be trading or interacting on a platform that simply matches orders that aren't matched to anything else to their own internal book, right? We call that market making. We also call that other things, but we'll stick to market making as a definition. There's also obviously many orders that are filled on other platforms are filled by other clients. The more clients you have, the more orders you have, usually. The more orders you have, the more liquidity you have. And so it is a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. As we grow, once we start to do massive marketing, which is coming, we will get massive amounts of clients. When we do that, those books are going to fill up organically. When it comes to just liquidity, we are in discussions with now more than one, again, liquidity providers. We have 2 concurrent liquidity providers that provide the vast amount of liquidity into our order books. We are in talks with currently 1, and next week or the week after another, and probably 1 more after that. So another 3 liquidity providers to see if either we want to segment certain assets with certain providers and or start to aggregate on our own to aggregate liquidity from multiple providers. It's an ongoing thing. I know from the outside perspective, it seems like probably an easy problem to solve. It's not. Generally, most larger exchanges solve it by just being large exchanges. Like I said, more clients, more orders, more liquidity. And we will get there as well. It's like I said, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I still, no matter how many clients we have, want outside liquidity. Outside liquidity is a game changer when you start to really offer additional products, like especially options and futures and other things like that, into your spot or other order books that you may maintain inside the business. Plus, having relationships with liquidity providers brings you business, because at some point you become big enough where you can actually sell liquidity to that liquidity provider rather than take it from them. So the plan hasn't necessarily changed from what the plan has always been. The vast difference is that we will actually have human resources that will allow someone to focus on this as a job and not have to focus on so much operational tasks outside of this, and thus we will move quicker in that direction. How confident are you the Q4 roadmap will be completed this quarter? I'm confident. I'm confident we're going to complete that roadmap. Montenegro Sandbox license is expiring, already expired actually. Does CM try to renew it? Have planned for licenses and products changed lately? What can we expect next of products and licenses? So you've seen, I would assume you've seen the Q4 roadmap, so that will give you a bit of insight onto product, at least in Q4. the Montenegro sandbox license already has expired. The purpose of that license was probably 3 or 4-fold. One aspect of us acquiring that license was our ability to quickly launch a product where securities were being bought and sold without having to do a substantial amount of background checks and reading, et cetera, on applicable EU law to make sure that we weren't stepping on any toes. In the beginning, the idea was between both CoinMetro and Ignium. Those who don't know Ignium, ignium.io. Ignium is started out as what was going to be kind of a digital CSD, central securities depository, somewhere where securities on chain would be settled. We pivoted though. Ignium pivoted to focus more on problems that businesses were having that fell outside of that necessarily CSD role, and that meant that a lot of the reason why both companies went to Montenegro was no longer needed. For CoinMetro, for example, we are able to offer what is crowdfunding currently in Europe without a license because one doesn't exist. One doesn't exist in Estonia. In November of this year, they will present rule sets for a crowdfunding license, which is based on a change to EU-wide regulation. And there will be some time frame to apply and receive that license. And we are already putting together the documentation that we believe will be required to acquire that license. That's one of the licenses we're looking to acquire, a crowdfunding license. That will allow us to keep our Invest platform live and also expand its usage across the EU. Another license that we're going after is in the UK, the crypto, well, it's not a license, it's a registration, so that we have the crypto registration in the UK as well, so we can do direct solicitation in the UK. We're also going after an EMI agent license that we have in Lithuania in the UK. So we'll also be able to provide similar services that we would to Europe inside the UK, in GBP, etc. We've also registered for FinTrack in Canada, similar to FinCEN in the US, as a foreign money service business operating within the country. And that will give you a hint of a currency that we probably will have on the platform soon. As far as the big license, investment firm license, that's the quote unquote MTF. In Estonia, investment firm covers a wide swath of services and provisions. MTF is one of them. We actually won't be going after the MTF permission because that would actually limit our ability to offer certain products initially. That doesn't mean we won't go after it later, but what we're really looking to do is options and futures for crypto and also derivatives potentially derivatives on tokenized and digitized securities that happen through the Ignium platform. So Ignium providing the basic secondary market and we providing liquidity to that market by way of derivatives. All that can be done without necessarily going after that MTF provision underneath the investment firm license. That process has started. Right now, we're on track to file by the end of January for those licenses. It will take 9 to 12 months to acquire those licenses. So they may be acquired within 2022, but 2023 would probably go live with that investment firm license. The crowdfunding license we expect, and the UK license we expect to have within 2022. We will more than likely go after a Netherlands license as well. We started the process back in the day, but there was no need for us to acquire the license at the time. Now that we're expanding business, also for a bit of risk mitigation, we plan to acquire that license as well. We are also talking to you. We also have taken on a US law firm, not necessarily immediately for any type of licensing, but to get ready for a major licensing push, probably 2023 into 2024. So we, as far as product goes, there's lots of things in the works. There's something that we're going to surprise you guys with. I think that's not on the Q4 roadmap. That's going to come out in Q4. I'm not going to spoil that one, but it's going to be a cool little additional product that I think is going to help us definitely make our lives easier for our clients. There are a myriad of products that we're looking to offer underneath the earn heading and as well as a marketplace heading, marketplace being something like our Invest platform. I'm going to leave it there for now. I don't want to spoil too much what's going to happen. What I can say is that there's lots in the works. And as we grow our infrastructure, meaning the people that are here to get all this stuff done, you're going to see amazing things happening much faster than amazing things used to happen in the past. Have you ever heard of Revolution Papule or Catalo? I like how I put accents on stuff without knowing the origin. Just random accents. I don't know why I do that. If so, do you have any thoughts on them? So never heard of either of them, but now you've intrigued me. So I'm going to phone a friend. My friend's name is Google. I don't know if you know him or her. I don't know. Is Google a him or her? No idea. All right. I typed in RVP and I got some Dutch footballer named Robin van Persie. So amazing. Okay, okay, so this is an asset, obviously. Let's see. What is it? Well, CoinMarketCap, like usual, doesn't give much information. Let's see, do we have a link? Can I get a link? Here we go. The blockchain database for the internet. Okay. All right. Our ambition is to return digital sovereignty back to the people. Okay. This guy, David Galertner, definitely looks like he's read a book or two. So that's good. Right after I said that, I scrolled down and everybody that has a video on this page has a massive bookcase behind them full of books. That's kind of disheartening because you know what that usually means? They haven't read a single one of them. But people like to put books behind them because they think it makes them look smarter. But since I know the trick, it doesn't usually do that to me. It just makes them look like pompous assholes. But I'm not saying they're pompous assholes, but here we go. I'm gonna get an email now. So no, I hadn't seen this. I've seen a few other companies working on the same thing, blockchain, data sovereignty, the protection of data, et cetera. That's definitely not a new thing. I'll take a bit longer look, maybe over this weekend. I have a plane ride, so it's always good to have something to read. Let me check out this other one here real quick. It's probably something similar. Harness the power of innovation with no code. Okay. Smarter, faster, and cheaper way to automate operations and build new digital products without writing any code. Okay. So I'm assuming this is kind of a if this, then that, plug and play. You just take this piece, that piece, put them together, and you have an action. This could also be interesting. I'll take a look. Parsec is going down this path. Same as Catalo, using a different way to get there, but they're definitely going down that path. I'll take a look at them. So thanks for bringing them to my attention. What are your thoughts on crypto gaming tokens? Does gaming need crypto? I don't know if I'm expecting an answer from like the crowd or something, but historically gambling has been a high risk for regulators because they think people use it to obfuscate, taxes and not pay. And then when you add crypto into it, it kind of makes it worse. So I'm all for utility tokens in any business. Whether that's any vice, gambling, liquor stores, brothels, make a utility. Imagine having a utility token at a brothel. I could think all kinds of utility. I'm not going to mention it though, because I kind of want to keep my job. The point is that I think utility tokens can work anywhere. And so I'm a fan of tokenizing everything from a utility standpoint. And I think when it comes to gaming, I guess gaming, we're talking more here about like video games and not gambling. But when it comes to gaming in general, gaming is why we have gamification. And the reason why gamification works is because, well, gaming works. So yeah, I think that absolutely gaming tokens make sense as long as we don't go too far down the governance rabbit hole. The more we go down the governance rabbit hole, the more potential we have to be securities. And I'm not sure how much value governance adds in every, we're kind of going through this governance bubble now. Like everybody wants to add governance to a token. Now, there's different types of governance, obviously. But I think as long as we don't go down this path of adding certain voting rights that'll push us towards securities, I'm kind of all for it. Can we get a tour of the facility? Yeah, I'll have to set that up one week. I can't do it right now because I have a fixed camera. And it's just going to be kind of a nonsense. But I'll definitely, we got to do that one week. I had a 10-hour AMA in one of the rooms over here where you could see more of the office. You can look at that up on YouTube. You'll find it. When CM Casino in American native territory? Well, I'd have to figure out where my bloodline is, and then maybe we could make that happen. I'm not big on casinos, to be honest. I think, look, there's definitely a crossover between trading and gambling, because many people treat trading like gambling. But I'm not a proponent of wrecking people. And people get wrecked on trading just like they get wrecked on gambling. But I'd rather try to progress towards a place where people don't get wrecked. And gambling is made literally on the premise that I hope our clients get wrecked. And I'd rather not go down that road with CoinMetro. Going to miss this live, but just want to say thanks to CoinMetro team for what you are building, giving us an opportunity to also gain from it. Good vibes. Thank you, Liam. Really do appreciate that. If you aren't here live, hopefully you listen to it later, because I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much for taking the time to type that out. That's great. Hey, Susan, I'm so excited for you and all of XCM. Cheers for all your hard work. Thanks for your time with these discussions and being so available. Thanks, Susan. You're going to make me blush, and but I do appreciate that. Thank you. How do we get you on the best business show? That's something worth paying to get into. I don't know. Maybe if everybody starts spamming Pompliano or his wife or whatever, somebody who works for him, that we can make that happen. I'm definitely willing to do it if we can make it happen. Absolutely. Maybe we got to start an email campaign, snail mail campaign. Nobody gets any mail anymore. If 2% of our total client populace sent a snail mail message to the address of the Best Business Show or Pompliano's address, I'm sure it would work, because nobody gets any. What do you get? Who gets snail mail anymore? Another thing you get is like when you order a debit card or when there's an election happening, you get like vote for me shit that everybody throws in the trash anyway. What's going on with MD Agency? They were going to do an AMA this week, but nothing. Odd that a marketing company doesn't do marketing. Well, it's a good question, but unfortunately, I can't answer that one. I think it was their own AMA. I don't think I was supposed to be a part of that one, or wasn't asked to be a part of it. So I don't know, to be honest. I can't answer that question. Any ETA on the performance button tap? Good question, Harold. I don't have an ETA on it. I've seen designs where it's been worked on to a certain extent. I think it was slightly deprioritized for some other changes along the ecosystem, though it's obviously still there as coming soon. So at some point we have to do it. I don't know. I'll try to get a date for that for you and see if it's still Q4, probably not there. There's easy ways to do that, like the Coinbase way, which just shows your balance fluctuation, but it's not really accurate or really usable in any way, shape, or form, because it just looks like this as you're making deposits and withdrawals. You can't really tell if you're actually making profit. It's also very difficult to have a start price. What happens if you deposit Bitcoin today, but you bought it 6 years ago? What price do we put? Do we have to ask you for that data? Do we have to try to use a tool that we can potentially pull that data somehow, which would be relatively impossible if it's a centralized exchange where you bought? There's a lot of intricacies that come into that make it more difficult than probably most would imagine, but it is something we will do, but I'll try to get a date on it for you. Any news on the CBDC front? From what exactly? You mean just from a news perspective, or what's happening around the world? Obviously, there's lots of movement on CBDC. I think I predicted that 2 years ago. It's inevitable that it'll happen. I don't think it's going to happen for any good reason in terms of good crypto reason, but it definitely will happen. People will take a victory lap, like they did something great on both sides, both on the government regulatory side as well as the crypto side. Both will be right and wrong at the same time. If you've been listening to the news, you probably know as much as I do from certain countries, whether that be the UK, whether that even be the US, whether that be parts of Europe, as well as the ECB. I'm not, just like I don't give a shit that there's now a Bitcoin ETF, and I don't think anybody generally does either. Yeah, it got to $1 billion in trading, the second fastest growing ETF, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's pretty easy to buy Bitcoin now, especially. And if this happened 3 or 4 years ago, it would have made a major difference. I don't really care about an ETF. I'm feeling the same way in many ways about CBDCs. By the time they actually happen, it's going to be relatively meaningless. It's going to take away a lot of privacy, and a lot of privacy advocates are going to be pissed. A lot of people that like cash are going to be upset. Of course, cash isn't going to go away right away. It's going to take decades for that to happen over time. But if you can clarify the question a bit, I can definitely give you a better answer, I guess. Do you think this XCM rally is sustainable? I think this XCM rally will be one of many rallies. I wouldn't expect no pullback. I wouldn't expect just to go straight up like an arrow. I do think, though, as we move into Q4, we will see one or more bullish rallies. And I think going into 22, especially as we start to bring on many more clients with much more marketing, and we start to bring out those refinements around all our platforms and start to have a more cohesive brand, that this will lead to sustainable changes in price to the upside. This week's Binance flash crash. Yeah, I saw that. What is that? That was Bitcoin, wasn't it? They had a big Bitcoin price fall to like 12K. You see, guys? And, you know, those things happen everywhere. And I say that. I love to see it happen at Binance. I mean, they do happen everywhere. They happen in FX. They happen in stocks. They happen everywhere. Well, I shouldn't say stocks. In stocks, because there's a direct pricing, they're not an OTC market. It happens in all OTC markets is what I should say. There are OTC markets in stocks. Those are usually called penny stocks. So it does happen in stocks, but not stocks that we may think of like Tesla or Tesco or, you know, whatever, AT&T, etc. But yeah, the flash crash happened there. Even with so many orders in the book, even whatever, that stuff happens. Especially when there's so much movement on one side and everybody starts to pull liquidity from the other end, you know, shit happens. Somebody got lucky. When can we buy the CoinMetro Moon in the store? Good question. So we bought these from a company, I think they're based in the US. They obviously came from China or something, or Hong Kong, or I don't know. I'll find out. I'll see if we can actually get those in the store. It probably should be possible, I would imagine. What went wrong last time when investors supported book? How will it be different this time? Not just pump and dump. Well, there was no dump by the investors. There was only pump. I would say a few things happened. So last time, rather than they created support in the book at one price. That was the floor price. There was some support around other levels. And mainly they were focused on buying. And at one point, the buys were going to come around announcements. And then that slowly started to not happen because either we had a lack of announcements or there just was kind of a lack of communication between both sides. And it wasn't planned that well. And eventually, when the price got to a certain extent, the dump came from everyone else. It came from other clients that said, well, I've now made a 10X, a 15X, a 20X, a 6X, whatever, and I'm out. And the walls that they built weren't enough to support the fall. That combined with the fact that what caused that, actually, as I should say, what was a primary cause of that is that they had a lot of collateral in Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. And in the last crash of those, losing 30, 40, 50, 60% of their collateral, they could not support the buy side of the book as they were before. And so when people came in to sell, because XCM was still relatively high in comparison to other assets, that caused XCM to fall back to the floor and bounce off the floor and then stay roughly around 15 to 25 cents over the last months. So it's a combination of the market, the overall market, along with not the best thought out strategy. Same thing would go for our buyback. We did our buyback in one go. Future buybacks aren't going to happen in one go because, you know, I've been around markets for a long time, just like I built a lot of businesses, but every business is different. Every market is different. Every asset is different. Every day in the market for every asset can be different. You know, you can have a great plan that works 9 times and then fails on the 10th. That's just how life works, I guess, in general. Thanks for the answer. Keep up the good work. See big things for yourself and CoinMetro. Cheers. Thanks, Breton. Appreciate the question. Will this massive marketing happen this year? This year, into the end of the year, we will be doing testing, A and B testing across multiple channels, distribution channels. You can guess what those are, social media, etc. 3 to 4 channels, probably 30 to 50K per channel over the course of 2 months. We will A/B test. We will find what copy works, what imagery works, what channels work, and then starting next year, we'll start to ramp up spending. Probably starting with low 6 figures and eventually getting into mid 6 figures monthly by the end of the year, maybe even higher depending on how well marketing does. And then marketing budget is going to explode 2023, 24, 25. Absolutely explode. Hi, Kevin. You look happy. Thanks, Robin. I feel okay today. I have a light. I have this really nice light in my face, so I look like I'm glowing. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Next projects we can expect listed. 3 in the pipeline. You're going to know about them next week. So get ready for that. Yo, Kev. Yo, Custom Tall. I heard about a Flux airdrop, and one of the methods to get it was having Flux staked on CoinMetro. I've heard the airdrop Flux is coming to us in December. Any truth in this? You might know a bit more than I do. Definitely there was an airdrop October 15th. I don't know about the scheduling, so I would ask that in Telegram, and then we can get an answer for you inside of our Telegram group. Just make sure if someone DMs you, don't pay attention. Can you give us wild guesstimate of where a few tokens might be compared to USD by 2030? 2030, super success, Jesus. BTC, ETH, Quant, Sol, XRP. Okay. This is a ridiculous question because nobody can. So, you know, I mean, I can take a guess, but my guess is going to be a guess. No one can really do this. 2030 is a long way off. For crypto, you know, 8 years, 9 years, 8 years basically is like 90 years in any other market, at least how it's been so far. I do expect crypto to become less volatile, at least the majors. If you look at how BTC has moved over the course of the last 12 years or so, I would say there is potential for BTC to be somewhere in the range of, let's see, Q4 is an average 114% gain, I think, for Bitcoin, 140 maybe even. There's only been 1 or maybe 2 years where it hasn't seen a gain. 1 year, I think it saw a negative, and the average over the course of even that year included was 140 or 114. I don't remember off the top of my head. If we take that into account with current price, we haven't finished Q4 yet, and just extrapolate that over the next 8 years, well, you're looking at about 11x maybe from where we are right now. I do think, though, at certain price points, the price extension of Bitcoin will slow. Also, things like halvings and things like that can play a role. Also, fundamentals can play a role. Fundamentals play a massive role. Halvings don't necessarily mean a thing in reality because the amount of Bitcoin produced has nothing to do with the amount of Bitcoin traded, especially in synthetic markets, which drive price. But fundamentally, because people hear of that happening, it does drive the market. So yeah, we could potentially be high 6 figures. It could be, you know, 600,000-700,000 at that point if we continue on the same exponential price path, which I do think will lessen. So in my mind, I think 250,000 to 300,000 is probably a good bet. 2030, conservative bet, but a good bet. ETH, 20K, 25K, following those same metrics. Quant's a hard one for me because they still haven't launched anything. There's lots of hype behind them. They do have smart people there trying to do smart things. Interoperability in finance, though, has almost never happened. Almost never. And so there's a big question in my mind whether they can actually pull off what they think they can pull off. So I'm going to leave that one out. Sol, I don't know enough about. I don't like Solana per se. It's too centralized. I don't see how they're any better for a mass market than any other, almost any other protocol. I think for mass market, you need to appeal to a mass market. I don't see them doing that. XRP is a funny one as well because XRP kind of went against the grain, you know, in terms of all this legal issue, all these legal issues, and it kind of popping. Or at least maintaining price to a certain extent. I think XRP will probably do some type of token swap. Well, they already have this other token that's coming out, and probably XRP may not even be a tradable asset by 2030. But the volumes and following of XRP will be nicely moved through by the community into another asset. Got a few minutes, guys. I know I came in a bit late, but I have about 4 minutes. I got to run. I got another call. Any news on the Sombrero office? It's pretty racist, but all right. Yeah, I'm going to be there next week, and I will give you guys some updates next week. Any plans for fiat staking? Yes, there are plans, absolutely. It's one of our major plans for next year. Dust converter. It's not the dust converter, but that is coming as well. How many employees do we have now? I think we're inching up towards probably 60 at this point. Inching. Centimetering. I don't know what we're doing. Centimetering. We're in Europe. Appreciate the answers, Kevin. You're welcome. When is the KDA bonus for Flux staking going to be distributed? Somebody mentioned that it's going to be in December, but that wasn't me. I don't know if that's actually accurate. Ask us in Telegram. We'll get a date on that for you. Got a lot of actually decent questions coming up. There's just too many of them for me to get to. Hey, Jack. Do you have a comment on the Estonian view of bank regulation, being in Estonia, to CMC Talent as its HQ? We definitely see Talent as our headquarters right now. It absolutely is. I think the new guy in the FIU position is going to learn a lot. He's going to learn a lot from FATF, and he's going to learn a lot from sitting in that position, and that's a good thing. I think the FSA here is getting lots of pressure from the ECB, rightfully so, and not rightfully so. Obviously, Danske, biggest banking scandal in the history of mankind. Is that Estonians' problem? Is that Estonians' fault? We can debate that one till the cows come home. I would say not entirely. Estonia is being used a bit as a scapegoat by the European Union as a whole, as the ECB, by the ECB. That's not a great thing, but I think Estonia has been pretty diligent and pretty, I would say, on the ball in the past, and I do expect them to get through this without too much wear or tear. I like how you painted CoinMetro as a person growing up. You said she's early 30s now. Which company is the perfect marriage partner? No, I said by the end of next year, she'll be 25 to 30, mid 30s. Right now, I think we're an adolescent. You know, we're going through like teenage years right now. The perfect marriage partner. That's a good one. I'll have to think about that one. I don't have a lot of time to answer it. We've got about 1 minute left. I want to get to a few other questions. I think in that sense, CoinMetro is probably a polygamist, because I think we're going to have lots of marriages for different reasons, because there's lots of ways that we can better ourselves by having great partners. There's already a new XRP liquidity provider, right? Spreads went from it's the same liquidity provider, different aggregation. So you'll notice that across a few other pairs as well. I have no problem listing Polygon, so we probably will at some point. Absolutely. In the future, it'd be cool to have a platform where you answered questions that had the most upvotes. I like that as well. Voting on questions would be a great thing. We actually used to do that in the past with Reddit, with me responding to news articles, but we haven't done that for questions. What are your thoughts on the 420 million funding round of FTX? Yeah, I actually had a long discussion about that yesterday with somebody, one of our partners actually. They actually raised money on a run rate. If you don't know what run rate is, you can check Investopedia. On a run rate that's 30x run rate based on their potential prognosis run rate for 2023. Their cost of acquisition per client is probably 12 to 15 times higher than ours. And their LTV does not surpass, their mean LTV does not surpass their client acquisition costs. So that might tell you something. There is a bubble brewing inside of crypto, and it's not crypto prices. Go XCM, still love your ongoing integrity, Kevin, all that CoinMetro, so happy to be a part of it. Yep, thanks, Jason, for sure, MTVO and the whole MTVO gang. Thank you, Aline, for posting that. I'm going to have to run. I see there's actually a few other questions in here I would like to answer, but I can't get to them. If you have a question I couldn't answer, please jump on Telegram at Kevin Murcko, ask me there, or you can tweet me on Twitter if that's your thing, at Kevin Murcko, same thing. I'm Kevin Murcko pretty much everywhere because I'm Kevin Murcko, boom. If you can this weekend, spend time with friends and family. If you can't do it physically, do it virtually. And while you're there, listening to everything that happened to them through the last week, make sure you mention how well XCM is doing and how it's changing your life for the better. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. Thanks for the support as always. I will see you here next week, probably in front of a green screen. Appreciate you guys as always. Cheers.